That's fine. That's fine. Does anybody have any questions while we're waiting?
No real question. If you would just give an introduction about yourself and
Who, me?
yeah, little old me.
Little old me. Okay. Yeah, I can do that. So, I was born and raised in Cleveland, Garfield Heights, actually, Catholic, and went through school, and then after college, I went to Japan to learn to teach English, to learn English, to teach English, and I started. Well, I'm not sure how much you want to know. I mean, how much do you want to know?
Everything.
Everything.
You know, the highlights, like as your life was playing.
Yes.
Pasteurized or whatever you want to tell us.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I wasn't satisfied with Catholicism. I wasn't happy with that, even as a child. A lot of things didn't make sense to me. It seemed wrong. And those things just, I couldn't overcome them. So I just ended up leaving the church in my early 20s. But I appreciated the spiritual aspect. Hey, hi, you're back. Hi, Tristan. Come on in, have a seat. He has a card. Good. Yeah. Yeah, so I appreciated the spiritual aspect, and I saw the value of having a spiritual life. So I started looking around, and I really wasn't happy with anything that I was seeing. Sort of accidentally came upon the evangelical born again Christian troop, and without realizing, and then I guess this was like, now we're talking early 80s, mid or yeah, kind of early 80s. And I was like, whoa, okay, never mind, that's not for me. And then I was looking into New Age stuff, which really had just started to appear at that time. It started not to appear maybe, but to become very popularized. So it was like, Shirley MacLaine was big. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that was probably before your time, Tristan. You were pretty young, but there was a period when Shirley MacLaine was all about like past lives and UFOs and I don't know what else. So I started kind of looking into that, and I was looking into Wicca and some other things. And what I found was just that everything just seemed so shallow, so kind of like there wasn't any depth to it. And also that it was very self-centered, really self-focused, like like Wicca, for example, and I don't know, I'm talking about my knowledge of these things at that time. I think if someone was a genuine Wicca practitioner, they could flesh that out in a way that made more sense, But for me, what I was seeing was just kind of like, if you make this altar and you do this spell, then you'll get something. Everything's about getting something, You'll get a better job, you'll get a better, boyfriend or whatever, right? You'll get more money. So all of these things are really, and even in a lot of Christianity, it's about getting, people ask you to pray for them. Pray for me because I need XYZ, I'm going to ask. So anyway, and then I went to Japan to teach English, and I was living in Kyoto, so I was going to this local temple in the morning for Zen meditation, which was pretty good, pretty cool. But I don't know how much you guys know about Zen, but in the West, I think it's practiced quite differently than it is in Japan. In the sense that in the West, I just feel like it's more kind of open and not so severe. And at this place anyway, it was pretty severe. And so, for example, like I went one morning to practice in Kyoto, and at the temple, and it gets cold there. It's they have 4 seasons, and it snows. So it's really cold this day. And these old temples and the old homes and stuff, they're made of like paper and toothpicks. You know what I mean? Like there's no heat, and so it was freezing in this temple. And so we had our coats on and we left our socks on. And the sensei walked in and just looked at us all with such disgust. It was just like, ah, And he opened the walls. Like the walls are like these sliding doors, and he just opened all the walls. And I was like, I'm out. I'm out, like I'm not about spiritual punishment. I had X amount of years of that with the Catholic Church. I don't need this, So, so I was done with Zen, and then I was trying this other. Is anybody familiar with Goenkaji? No, he was a Burmese master, so that's more of a Theravada style of Buddhism. Hey, Lucy, come on in. Hi, Linda. And he there was a retreat with his group in Japan, and I went to that retreat, and they were also very, you had to, maintain this posture. You had to sit still and not move. You couldn't talk. They really restricted your food intake. They like searched your bags before you came in to make sure you didn't have, I don't know what. I was like, dude, like calm. Everybody's got to calm down around here, man. You guys got to calm down. So I ended up, and it wasn't so much like, I really liked the meditation technique that they used. I found very, very useful as a meditation technique, which is essentially sort of just sweeping the body from head to toe and toe to head and sort of noticing all the sensations. And they used like recorded tapes of Goenkaji, and he would say anicca, which is I guess it's the Sanskrit word for impermanence. So he would, interject throughout the meditation, often he would say anicca, anicca. And eventually I heard later that somebody asked why he keeps saying, I need ya, I need ya. so I'm like, okay. But my problem with that system, and with actually all the other systems that I had come in contact with, post Catholic, was that there was just this meditation technique, and I found the same in Zen. Like it's a great meditation technique, but there wasn't like a wider ground of teachings from which to draw, to sort of guide your life and make good decisions and explain life, things like that, So I just felt like it was not enough, So I left that behind. Okay. So after Japan, I went to Thailand to just travel there. And so I was staying in this really nice place. I mean, nice for me. What I mean by that is it was not at all fancy, but it was beautiful. And they just had like these little bungalows with like just enough room for like a double mattress on the floor in your backpack. Okay. And a little porch. But they were all kind of on the side of this hill looking out on the sea. It was very nice. $2 a night, kind of deal. Yeah, great. Really cool. So I stayed there and I befriended these 2 guys. And they like disappeared for 10 days, and then they came back, and I was like, where were you guys? Oh, we went to do this retreat, this Buddhist retreat. It's not far from here. It was really great. You should go, And I was like, no, like I'm done. I'm done. I was like, everybody thinks they knew what they're doing, and everybody has their heads up their asses. Pardon my language, but that's what I said. Because that's where I was. I was like, there's nothing, there's just nothing out there for me, So they go, oh, then you should really go. So I thought, oh, yeah, maybe, okay, And my motivation was really base, My motivation was I had a lot of anger, and I knew this was a problem, and I had to deal with that, and I thought maybe if I learn meditation, I can kind of calm down a little bit and not have so much anger. And I didn't have a boyfriend, and I wanted a boyfriend, so maybe I'll meet a cute guy there, So that was my very high motivation for going and doing this retreat. But I'm so glad that I did. Really, obviously, it led me here. And because what I found there, besides a boyfriend, which I did find was very cute, was this a system and a method. So what I mean by that is every major religion and secular humanists and just people admire the same qualities, right? Love, compassion, generosity, all those things, right? Patience, okay? But what I found in my experience in the Catholic Church was that you're sort of given these dictum, right, or dicta, what's the plural of dictum? Dicta? Dicti, Dictimus Maximus, given a lot of rules, essentially, okay, but not a way to practice that if you aren't naturally like that, right? So, I mean, the teachings of Jesus are fabulous. If only we followed them, we would be so much happier as a world, Love your neighbor as yourself. This is this essentials of Jesus's teachings, right? Love your neighbor as yourself. Love thine enemy. Okay. Fantastic. How? That was my question. How? I don't even love myself, and you want me to love my neighbor as myself, which no, I don't. And you want me to love my enemy. Are you kidding me? How? I would like to do that, but how? And I was just told, pray for patience, And I did. I prayed a lot, but nothing happened. So it was very frustrating to have these beautiful teachings and want to follow those teachings, but not know how to be that way if you were not already naturally that way, To say, I should be patient, I should be patient, I should be patient, is not going to keep you from road rage if you are feeling that, Same with anything else, generosity and so forth, right? So what I found there at this retreat in Thailand, which was the Theravada tradition, which is different than what I'm practicing now, but it's still the foundational practice for all the different schools of Buddhism, was the same kind of moral teachings, essentially the golden rule, right? But a method for changing, for working with our own mind and our own heart to get to that point of being patient and generous and kind and so forth, right? Which is meditation. Yeah. Study, meaning you hear the teachings, contemplation, where we think about them and so forth, and then meditation, where we sort of really try to absorb the teachings. Okay. So for me, that was like gold, that was so, and doing this 10-day retreat, I saw the potential for being able to change myself, to develop these qualities, right? We have a tendency to think, we sort of have the Popeye mantra, I am what I am, and we sort of don't consider the fact that we could change, So I was very happy about that because I was disturbed by my temper, and I had a lot of excuses for that, right? Oh, it's my dad's fault. That's the way I was raised, and there's nothing I can do about it. There is something we can do about it. So there was that I really, really appreciated. And then there was also this non-evangelical aspect. So Buddhism doesn't try to force their ideas on anybody else. It's just take it or leave it. If you're interested by these things, you're welcome. If you're not interested, that's fine. It's not a problem. And I've been here for almost 20 years now teaching, and I, I have no problem with that. I'm not interested in converting anybody, you know, and people can use so many of the teachings and practices in Buddhism without changing anything else about themselves. Like, they don't have to be Buddhist, they can be Catholic or Christian or Jewish or Wicca or whatever, and use these techniques to help themselves. There is a point where you have to make a decision, like you know, the higher practices, like not just anybody can do that. You have to be committed to the path in order to do that. But that's another story. But the things that I teach and explain are not in that category. So there's that. The third thing is that there's a real respect for the intellect and logic, which is like so delicious, right? There isn't any dictum. Why do I keep using this word that I'm not sure what it means? There isn't any um, uh, pressure or whatever to leave your brain at the door. You know, it's not just accepted to ask questions. It's encouraged. It's expected. Please ask questions. Please doubt. We should doubt. You know, we should test the teachings for ourselves and not just accept because somebody in robes said it. And this is from the Buddha himself. You know, there's a sutra called the Kalama Sutra, which you can look up online. It's spelled just like it sounds, Kalama. I just realized this Kamala. I know. I just thought of that. It's the Kamala Sutra. It's changed 2 letters, and it's Kalama Sutra. And the essence of that is just the Buddha talking to a group of villagers who had asked him his advice because, like here in America, and actually it's the same in India, but I think it's kind of more prevalent here. But there's so many different belief systems and so many different faiths, and sort of everybody's like trying to, in this village, they have different spiritual teachers coming through, and each one had conflicting ideas and philosophies, and each one was saying, we're the best, and everybody else sucks, essentially, right? So they were just like kind of, turned around, and they were like, well, no, what are we supposed to do? So they asked the Buddha, and he said, look, don't believe. He had this whole thing about not believing, don't believe just because it's tradition. Don't believe just because it's written in a book. Don't believe just because it's what your parents did, all this kind of stuff. Don't believe me. He's like, test it out for yourself. And he gave this example of testing gold, like you bite it, I guess, or something. I don't know. I never saw a real piece of gold in my life, so I don't know. But the way that I think of it is buying a used car. You wouldn't, if you're have any semblance of intelligence, you don't buy a used car without looking at it, without testing it, without looking under the hood, without taking it to a mechanic. You test it out. It's the same with the teachings. So we are meant to examine them. See, and he said, like, see if they make sense, see if they're praised by the wise, meaning like, are they wise? And if so, then accept them. And if not, then reject them. So it's up to us. There's tremendous amount, not just like, so there's this aspect of like using your mind, using your intellect. There's volumes upon volumes of like logical treatises for why, certain things make sense or certain things are taught. And then there's this other aspect that's like connected with that, which is um, independence. Like, we're meant to be independent. So what I mean by that is like, we're supposed to make up our own mind. We're supposed to, do our own practice. We're supposed to like not be swayed easily, like a blade of grass in the wind, like just like be independent. I remember this one teacher that we had in my first 3-year retreat, and you know how like in Asia they have like water oxen, or that they put like this big ring in their nose and then they put a rope through so they can lead it around, right? And he said, I wish you could have seen him because he was so cute. He was really like this grandfatherly like figure, you know. And he's like, don't hand your nose rope to others. Take your nose rope and just coil it on your head. You know, it's up to you, right? So all of these things put together just really made me feel like, oh, this is what I want. You know, this is what I want to do. Um, so, and I remember saying, you know, if I had to make a religion, it would be this. You know, I felt so at home. So after that, I went to India with my new boyfriend, and we he was in the Tibetan tradition, and I was still practicing the Theravada tradition. And anyway, we went to India, and we went to some of the holy places. You know, where the Buddha got enlightened and passed away, etc. And met the Dalai Lama. And after that, I went back to America and met a teacher who really impressed me. And then he was encouraging us to go to France to see this other teacher named Dingo Khyentse Rinpoche, who was one of the greatest masters of the 20th century and was very old at the time. And he was saying, you know, might be the last time he teaches. So I ended up going there. And then I was just completely blown away, you know, that this whole Tibetan system is really incredible, very, very powerful. And so I wanted to find a place where I could do a kind of short retreat and figure this stuff out. And I ended up at a place where they were doing 3-year retreat. And 2 weeks later, I was in the 3-year retreat. So it's like, okay. So after that, in 1994, I decided to ordain because I decided this is all I wanted to do. You know, I didn't want to do anything else. So I did that, and then I did a 1-year retreat in solitude in France. It was so nice. I was so just this little hut, you know, in the woods in France. It's really great. And after that, what? After that, well, after the retreat, my first 3-year retreat, I went to Nepal to ordain, right? And then I went back to France, and then I did 1-year retreat in solitude. And then I don't know what the hell I did. I went somewhere. What did I do? I don't remember. Anyway, I was going to go to Nepal and live in Nepal, where I ordained in this monastery in the foothills of the Himalayas. But then my teacher asked me to do another 3-year retreat, so I did that. Then I went to India to try to learn Tibetan. Then I went back to France, and I thought I wanted to spend the rest of my life in retreat. And my teacher wanted me to teach, so here I am. And I said, I think you should be a teacher, don't you? And I said, no, I don't. So now I'm here for almost 20 years teaching, sharing the Dharma.
I'm glad you're here.
Well, thank you. Yeah. And we had a center that just closed. So we're here doing meditation every Saturday, as I was saying. First Saturday of the month is children's meditation or family meditation. And then the remaining 3 are group meditations like this. And then we have things we do on Zoom. We have classes. We're starting new classes in January. And we have we do some practice together on Buddha days 3 times a month. And we're going to have a Thanksgiving potluck next month, hopefully. Normally it's a potluck. I'm thinking it might be better to just go to a restaurant.
Yes.
But we'll see.
just quietly.
Just quietly go to a restaurant. We'll see.
Finding a place.
Yeah, and it's kind of, we'll see. we'll make the decision this week. So that's why, like the best way to know what we're doing is to sign up for the newsletter. This way we gave you guys those cards. So thank you for filling those out. And everything will be in the newsletter and the end. Does that answer your
Thank
question?
you.
You're welcome.
What a journey.
Yeah, quite a journey. Yep. And I'm trying to figure out what to do coming, in the future now. Since we don't have a place, that sort of frees me up a little bit, but also has other challenges. So, okay. So we want to actually start with our bodhicitta motivation. So I didn't do that before answering this question. I didn't think I would be talking so long. Okay. So let's just settle in. Right? So we just get the mind and body together. So now we want to establish our bodhicitta motivation. So bodhicitta is a Sanskrit word. Bodhi means awakened or enlightened. Chitta means the mind and heart together. So the literal translation is enlightened mind, heart. And the definition is the wish to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. Sentient being with consciousness means with consciousness. So humans, animals, and other beings. Although we spend a lot of time on this path kind of working with our own mind and our own behavior and so forth, the goal of all of that ultimately is so that we can benefit others to the maximum degree. If we are, otherwise it's kind of the blind leading the blind, right? So we want to develop these qualities of full enlightenment at some point so that we can benefit the maximum amount of beings to the maximum degree. But for our purposes, at least if we can think, may the time that we spend together today, this morning, benefit not only ourselves, but others as well. Okay. So, so we're going to begin with mindfulness of breathing practice. This meditation is the foundational meditation for everything else that we do on this path. The purpose of this meditation is to become familiar with the mind in the state of distraction and the mind in the state of awareness. And the practice is bringing the mind back to awareness when it is in a state of distraction. We spend most of our time sort of unconscious, kind of just reacting to the world, having this kind of knee-jerk reactions to whatever's happening in our lives without any sense of choice or control. Through this simple meditation of mindfulness of breathing, which entails adopting a certain posture and then bringing our awareness to the sensation of the breath coming in and out of the nose. We're just using that as a focus. And then allowing the thoughts to come and go. Okay. Normally what we do is we are just taken away by our thoughts. We're just running after them. We take them very seriously. We have a sensation that they are solid and permanent and important and all kinds of things. And when in fact they're just energy, they're just clouds moving through the sky of our mind. And the more that we do this practice, the more that we begin to realize that and be able to know what's happening, what's actually happening in our mind versus what we think is happening, what we want to be happening, what we want others to think is happening. And to be able to not be controlled by every thought and emotion that passes through our mind. So this is the first kind of step to that, to freedom from control in this sense. Being able to respond rather than react. So let's do that practice now. So since we're all in chairs, if you're sitting on the floor, so we're on YouTube, so I don't know what you guys are doing. If you're sitting on the floor, you just want to sit, cross-legged in whatever way is comfortable for you. If you are sitting on a chair, you want your feet flat on the floor if you can. If you are too little, you can grab one of those cushions and put it under your feet.
Lucy, can you get me one chair?
Oh, she didn't hear you. Then your hands should be either palms down on your knees or palms up, just resting one on top of the other in your lap, or with your fingers on top of each other and your thumbs touching like that, like you're holding a goose egg. Whichever is most comfortable. Oh, sorry about that. All right. The back is straight. That's the most important thing. Okay, should be straight but relaxed. Not like you're in the army. Just straight but relaxed. So the back of the neck is also going to be straight, which means the chin is going to be tucked in a little bit. Okay? Arms are relaxed. Shoulders should be back a little bit. So normally what I do is I just sort of roll my shoulders back one time, and it'll just open up your chest. You'll feel that it'll be a little bit easier to breathe. The mouth is closed but relaxed, tongue resting on the roof of the mouth. Breathing through the nose. The eyes are open, ideally, looking down in front a few feet, so relaxed, lowered, unfocused gaze. If that's not comfortable for you, close your eyes, but it's good if you can train to, slowly train to meditate with them open. It affects different parts of the brain. If your eyes are open, you're less likely to fall asleep if your eyes are open. And we're trying to develop, awareness in daily life. So if we can only be aware when our eyes are closed, we're going to be very, very limited. So we want to do that. Okay. So let's just notice this posture, how your body feels in this posture. Then bring your awareness to the sensation of the breath coming in and out of the nose. So just kind of focusing at the end of your nostrils there. The goal is to maintain a continuous awareness of that sensation. Again, just letting the thoughts come and go. The thought will arise, dwell, and disappear on its own, and it'll be replaced by another, which dwells and disappears on its own, etc. Okay. We can notice that, we can label it thinking and come back to the breath, or just let them pass through the mind. At some point, it's very likely that we're going to get distracted and go running off after some thought. As soon as we notice that, we got carried away, we lost awareness of the breath, just simply bring the mind back to the breath. And we just continue that. Being aware, getting lost, bringing the mind back. Being aware, getting lost, bringing the mind back. Letting the thoughts come and go. Okay? So I'm going to ring this thing to start and also to finish. Okay? So let's begin with that. So maintaining the posture, relaxed focus on the breath, letting the thoughts come and go, bringing the mind back if we get distracted. Okay? Well, you can begin to count the breaths, counting either every in breath or every out breath for a total of 10 complete breaths. The counting acts as helps us to realize more quickly when we've gotten distracted because we'll notice, like, oh, I lost count. So if that happens, let's say you get to 4 and then the mind is just off and running and you lose where you are, just no big deal. Just bring the mind back, start again at 1. If you get to 10 without being too distracted, don't get distracted by that. Just come back, start again at 1. So please begin that now. Bring your mind back to the breath. The body should be as relaxed as possible while maintaining the posture. The mind should be as relaxed as possible while maintaining awareness of the breath. You're aware of everything else too, whatever sounds, sensations, other people, etc. But you're mostly focusing on the breath with a light touch, allowing everything else to exist, including whatever thoughts arise, just maintaining that awareness of the sensation of the breath. What questions, if any, do you have about this practice? How'd it go? Elizabeth. Is that your name, Elizabeth?
Rebecca.
Rebecca. I just had a whole conversation with you about the book, Rebecca. Okay,
Oh,
Rebecca. Yes.
It was lovely. I know the difference, trying to do this at home, which is great, but it's just nice to have the energy of other
Mhm.
people
Hmm.
in awareness. It
Yeah.
kind of enhances and makes it kind of a little bit easier.
Yeah. It's really easier with a group, mostly.
I shouldn't say easier, just the ability to just focus more on the breath
Mhm.
instead of mind wandering.
Yes. 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 And like you can't get up to go get a cookie or something. You're like sitting there doing your thing, Yeah. So that's why too, like it's good to come every week, where you get a sort of boost, like a weekly like booster shot of meditation, and then it's kind of tends to be easier to do the practice at home for that amount of time as well. Any other comments? What's your name again?
Michelle.
Michelle.
Mhm.
How was that for you?
That was good.
Mm.
Grounding. I wonder, just completely off topic, why are there 3 bulls on the right and 4 on the left? Does that signify something?
Yes.
Mm.
So, for those of you on YouTube who can't see, she's talking about the you go by she, her, right? Your
Yes,
pronouns
yes.
are she, her. Okay. She goes by, she was asking about the altar,
Mhm.
and we have 7 bowls and a candle on the altar. So, I will take a moment to explain that briefly. So, these 8 offerings represent the traditional offerings that in India that one would make to an honored guest, but it's also symbolic of other things. So, starting from left to right, the first is water to drink, the second is water to wash, then flowers, then incense, then light, then perfumed water, then food, and then music. Okay. But each of these separate things is symbolic of a certain quality. Like incense is connected with discipline. Don't ask me why. I don't know. I don't remember. And like light is connected with dispelling the darkness of ignorance and things like that. Okay. Also, the practice of making these offerings is to create merit, which we need in order to attain enlightenment. We are offering all of these things to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. We offer water because it's easier to not be attached to the offering. So, a lot of times we'll notice when we give something to someone, we're attached to that thing. Like we want, um, it's so interesting. Like we want them to respond in a certain way. We want them to like it. We want them to use it. We want them to praise us, for giving them that thing. So it's not really a pure offering. It's like we want something in return. And it's also like something we spent money on. So we're kind of like attached to it in that sense. But for the moment, water is an easy thing to offer. And I say for the moment because, you know, in the future it might be as valuable as gold. So for the moment it's easy to make this kind of offering, so we have less attachment to making the offering, and therefore offering is more pure. So we offer these things to create merit. We offer also to um, practice generosity. So this is the kind of related to what I was saying earlier about this path in general, um, the the intelligence of this path, right? And the kind of rules and regs that are laid down without um, a method for kind of getting there. Um, from the Buddhist point of view, it's really about working with the mind Pain blows concentration. Okay, Daryl, I'm going to get you in 1 second. Um, hang on. Right. So we begin with the mind or the mind heart, right? And we work there first. So if we're trying to be um, compassionate, let's say, then if we're not feeling compassion, then it's kind of performative, right? What we say, what we do, which is fine. It's better to do that than, punch somebody in the face or whatever. Okay, I get it. But if we are developing a habit of compassion, if we're developing a heart that is compassionate, then we don't have to think and try. It just, that's who we are. That's what our mind is. It is imbued with compassion. And so everything we say and do will be compassionate. Okay. So it's the same with generosity, right? We're told, thou shalt be generous, right? Okay, yes, I would like to be generous, but I'm not feeling generous. So we work with the mind to develop a mind that is generous. And doing stuff like this is part of that. Even though might sound a little bit disconnected or it might sound a little bit strange, it really is part of that. Okay. Especially the way that we do it, which is to expand every single offering so that it's kind of infinite. Right? There's a lot to say there. Like I always want to like squeeze all the teachings I ever heard into 30 minutes. I can't. But anyway, that's kind of the general idea. Okay.
Mhm.
So I do have a um, couple of sheets that I put together that explains how to do an altar and what everything means and stuff like that. So if you want that, just send an email and I'll send it to you.
Cool.
Everybody, I can send that. It might even be on the site. I'm not sure. So Daryl on YouTube, then he says pain blows concentration. So if we're in a lot of pain, then it's hard to concentrate. And actually, I had intended to talk today about pain as practice, bringing pain onto the path. Um, but ended up talking about my path, my personal path instead. So maybe next week we'll talk about that, Daryl. So come back next week. But in brief, yes, if we are trying to focus on the breath, but we're feeling a lot of pain, then it's really hard to focus on the breath, which makes sense. So what we can do in that situation is use the pain as focus of our concentration rather than the breath. Okay. So that means, first of all, like, these other things that I was talking to you about before, like Zen and the Goenka program, it's very strict, you're meant to like not move at all and just keep that posture no matter the pain and all of this kind of. That's a way. Everybody's free to follow that way, but it's not a way that I feel for myself anyway is useful. So um, there's a range, right? So if we're meditating and we feel a slight discomfort, we can use that discomfort as a focus of our practice, right? Can look at that, can sit with that. We can just be aware of that and kind of wait for it to go away, which it often will do. Okay. However, if we have some kind of serious chronic problem, like let's say we're sitting on the floor and we have a real issue with our knee, we shouldn't sit through that pain because we're just going to hurt ourselves, So just stretch out your knee, It says move your seat a little bit. We're free to do that. So that's a kind of boundary, for lack of a better word. If we are in constant pain, we have chronic pain, and we can't just move to get rid of this pain, definitely use the pain as an object of your meditation. Okay, how do we do that? So we do that by diving into the pain. So normally when you hear meditation in relation to pain, it's about running away from the pain, right? Which can be beneficial up to a certain point. So they're like, imagine that you're on a beach and you hear the waves going in and that works for a while until it doesn't. If you have a lot of pain, that doesn't work, you know. So rather we go into the pain. So where is this pain exactly? Where's the center of the pain? How far out does it radiate? Does it come and go? We might be really surprised by the quality of this pain if we've never examined it before. Okay. We want to just use that instead of focusing on the breath, focus on the pain, let the other thoughts come and go. Drop whatever storyline we might have about the pain. And these kind of storylines, and I'll talk more about this next week, can really increase the pain. You know, our emotional, we add emotional pain onto the physical pain. You know, why is this happening? You know, why me? When is it going to end? This is too much, you know, all this kind of stuff. Then we just drop that and just look at the pain itself. This can be a really powerful practice, you know. So that's one thing that we can do. Like I remember when my aunt was about to get a hip replacement. I don't know if they still do it this way. This was quite a few years ago. But at that time, you had to be like they would wait until you were in extraordinary pain before they replaced the hip, you know. So she was at that point. And I was very surprised, but she just called me one day and she was like, "Can you help me with this? Is there some kind of mental thing I can do with this?" And I was like, "I'm coming over." You know, and I just ran to her house and I gave her this meditation, you know, and I kind of walked her through it. And she was really amazed. She was like, "I can't believe how much it reduced my pain," you know. So that's really worth doing. You're welcome, honey. Um, so another thing we can do with pain is use it to develop compassion for others. Okay, and the meditation that we're going to do when I'm done talking is called Tonglen, or the practice of exchange. That's where we take on the suffering of others and offer them our own happiness. Okay, and when we have pain, this is a really, oh really, Daryl says it's his hip also. Well, so I'm so glad that you came today, Daryl. Um, um, so when we're in pain, okay, a lot of times what happens is we become very insular, you know, we sort of just and isolated. We feel very isolated, like I'm the only one that's in pain. We might not say that or think that consciously, but that's kind of the sensation that we have, right? So when we're in pain, let's say we have a pain in our hip, um, we can think, may this pain take away the pain of all beings. Or we can think, may this pain, this hip pain take away the hip pain of anybody who has hip pain. We can be that specific, or we can be very broad, you know, as whatever we feel more is more useful and more helpful. So what we're doing in that case is we are using our suffering in order to generate compassion, to strengthen our compassion for others. And this alone, I cannot even express how helpful that is. No matter the pain, whether it's physical pain or emotional pain, mental pain, you know, to just use that to connect with others, to think of others, and to generate compassion for others. Now, please don't mistake this for the kind of thinking that's like, eat your food because there's children starving in Africa. Everybody, your suffering is nothing. Everybody's suffering worse than you. That's not the message at all. Okay. One of the benefits, many benefits of this kind of practice is that we feel useful. We feel like our pain has a purpose. Then, you know, part of the additional pain on top of whatever pain we're experiencing is kind of just like being frustrated about being in pain and feeling like this pain is meaningless, you know. if we're using that pain to practice, then the pain is meaningful and useful, you know. So we can talk a lot more about this next week, but that's the general instruction for bringing pain onto the path, meaning using the pain to practice. Okay, so now we're going to do this practice of Tonglen. Is everybody okay? Do you need to stretch or anything, or go to the bathroom or anything?
Wiggle.
Need to wiggle? Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Okay. I know we're sitting for quite a long time, so it would be good to just. Ooh. So the Tonglen practice, giving and receiving, as I said, is about working with our compassionate heart. So something that's very important to consider on this path is that Buddhism starts from the point of view of basic goodness, as opposed to original sin. Like some paths I know. I'm teasing. But so the idea there is that we are all fundamentally enlightened. We have all these qualities already in us. So we already have compassion. So what we're doing with a practice like this is we're just connecting with that and uncovering that more, our innate compassion. Okay. And why it is this exchange is because, like, normally our habitual response to everything is to and kind of our obstacle to having unlimited compassion is wanting the best for ourselves. Okay, it's not a criticism. Okay, it's just that's the way that we are. It's normal. We just think of ourselves and sometimes we forget to think about others. So this practice is kind of turning the ego upside down, so that we can start to approach putting others before ourselves. Okay. So there's 5 steps to this practice, and I'm going to walk you through, so I'm not going to spend too much time explaining it, but briefly, we just rest the mind, meaning we're not trying to concentrate, but we're not distracted. We just let the mind settle. The next step is the sort of working with the visualization. So we imagine a bright white light in our heart center, and then we consider we're breathing in gray smoke, breathing out white light. Third is working with an individual. So there's 4 choices there: someone we love, someone who's neutral to us, someone we dislike, and ourselves. Today we're going to work with someone that we love. Okay. Then the next step is sending it out towards all beings, doing that same practice. So with the individual, we connect with them, then we connect with their pain, generate compassion for them, take on their pain in the form of gray smoke, dissolves into that white light, offer them our own happiness and the wish for enlightenment in the form of white light, breathe that out. When the rays of light touch them, their suffering disappears. Do that same process in the next step, but for all beings. And then the final step is just bringing the mind back to the breath. Okay? So for this practice, we again take the meditation posture. But if you want to close your eyes, that's perfectly fine. Just don't fall asleep. Okay? All right. So let's take the posture. Just gently bring the mind to the breath. I'm going to ring the gong. Just listen to the sound as long as you can hear it, and let your mind rest. Now imagine in your heart center, so the middle of your chest, a very bright white light like a shining star. Then consider that you're breathing in gray smoke, hot, dark, and heavy through all the pores of your body. And all of that smoke dissolves into the white light in your heart center. Until there's not a single particle of smoke left, there's only light. Then breathe out the white light through all the pores of your body. It's cool, clear, very bright. Just breathe out that white light. Okay. Now imagine in front of you someone that you love a great deal. They can be alive and they can have already passed away. Just picture them in front of you. And then go into your heart and really feel the love that you have for this person and the love they have for you. Remembering their kindness, their care, how they're there for you or were there for you, and so forth. Now consider the way or ways in which this person is suffering or was suffering. Physically, maybe they're sick or have some other physical difficulty. Mentally, emotionally, perhaps they suffered from depression or addiction, anxiety, and so forth. Maybe they're having trouble at home, at work, at school, whatever it is. And don't just think about it, but really try to feel, what does it feel like to have to go through those sufferings? Then consider that all their suffering, whatever it is, takes the form of gray smoke, hot, dark, and heavy. It leaves them and it comes to you. And you breathe that in through all the pores of your body. All of that smoke dissolving into the white light in your heart center until there's not a single particle of smoke left. There's only light. Now, to offer this person that you love anything at all that they may need to feel better, along with all of your own happiness, your own good fortune, you're giving that away to them. And adding to that the wish that they attain full enlightenment in this very life. And all of that takes the form of white light, cool and clear, very bright. And you breathe out this white light through all the pores of your body. And when the rays of light touch this person, all of their suffering just disappears, just lifts off of them. And they feel so relieved, peaceful, and happy. And you feel really joyful for being able to do this for them. Pardon me. Now we're going to do the same for all beings. First, visualizing them all around us. In front, as many beings as you can conceive of, stretching all the way to the horizon. To the right, again, as many beings as you can imagine, all the way to the horizon. Behind, as many beings as you can conceive of, stretching all the way to the horizon. And same thing to the left, all the way to the horizon. So now you're in the middle of a sea of sentient beings, countless sentient beings. And the first thing we want to do in this case is try to connect with them. So one way of doing that is to understand that each and every sentient being wants to be happy. Even animals want to be happy and to avoid suffering. And yet each one of us suffers nonetheless. We can also consider the myriad ways in which we are connected, whether we realize it or not. Even if we think just about this planet, we're sharing this planet, the water, the earth, the air, the fate of this planet. Or we can think about our own sort of society or community and all the beings that go into just supporting our day-to-day life. Those who grow our food and ship and sell our food, those who make our clothing, and keep the roads up and the utilities running. Right. Really, so many ways we're connected with others without even realizing it. So we just think of all of them and the fact that they're suffering in some way, physically, mentally, emotionally, some of them less than us, some of them about the same, some of them tremendously more. Can we consider that all their suffering, whatever it is, takes the form of gray smoke, hot, dark, and heavy? And it leaves them and it comes to you with a great deal of courage and love and compassion. You breathe that in through all the pores of your body. All of that smoke dissolves into the white light in your heart center until there's not a single particle of smoke left. There's only light. And then you offer all of these beings without exception your own happiness, giving it away, along with anything at all that they may need to feel better, and adding to that the wish that they attain full enlightenment in this very lifetime. And all of that takes the form of white light. Cool, clean, clear, very bright. And you breathe out this white light through all the pores of your body. So every pore of your body emanating a ray of white light in every direction as far as the eye can see. And when these rays of light touch all these beings, each individually, their suffering just lifts off of them and disappears like fog in the morning sun. They breathe a sigh of relief to be finally unburdened of this suffering. They feel joyful, relaxed, happy. And you feel joyful for being able to do this for them. Then let go of the visualization altogether, gently bringing the mind back to the breath and into the present moment, here and now. You okay, Annie? Okay. Any questions about this practice? Yes.
Sometimes when I'm meditating on somebody who has died and I feel that they've gone beyond, perhaps the second life, can I send that as if I'm sending it to their next life, or
Yes.
hoping that they perhaps.
Yes. Because this practice can benefit even someone who has passed away for that reason, because we have a connection with them, strong connection with them. So, unless they've attained enlightenment, they're still suffering. They're still in samsara, so they're still suffering. So it can still benefit them.
It continues.
Yes, definitely, yes. Okay, so I mean, can you pass around the prayers, please? So we have these. If you are on YouTube, then the link for the closing prayers is in the description box. So I'm going to click on that link. And then for these prayers, if it's not your jam, it's not your thing, you don't want to do it, it's perfectly fine. There's no pressure, but it's just what we do. So we start with dedication prayer, which I'm sorry, we actually start with the long life prayer of the Dalai Lama. But I want to just, can I have one too? Thanks. And then we do this dedication prayer. So I'll explain the dedication prayer when we get there. So we say these long life prayers as a way of kind of, putting out the aspiration there that our teachers live a long time. So there's the Dalai Lama, who all of you know, and then Jigme Khyentse Rinpoche and Tulku Pema Wangde Rinpoche are our two main teachers, and then a prayer for the long life of all the other teachers. And these prayers we just do in Tibetan, and the reason for that is our teacher wants us to do everything in Tibetan. We also do things in English. Sometimes we do English and Tibetan, like when we do the Buddha sadhana, the whole thing is English and Tibetan. These we just do in Tibetan, typically. So we do these, and then I'll explain the next prayer when we get to the other side. Okay? And again, if you don't want to join in, it's perfectly fine. Don't worry about it. All right. Kanri wawe kuwe shinkansu pendande wa malu juwene chenre siwan tenzing gam soye shate galaba chutengyo shi on swasti jigme kempe kalo yamparu kunka se chen su se bumdawa nidru dun san mk no bucho se che gawe shaking jasu so on swasti se la yam su chen la tin june lun da se yu tru pema wan sangum na tre kya po ta tene la chen ten bu shen ten tai ge sho lama kang san po so wa de chu tu ku se ring wa so wa de Chine tashin ye pa suade lama dandre wa me pa chingi. Okay, so now the other side. So I just want to explain this one before we say it. So this one we say once in English, once in Tibetan. The remaining three we say just in English And then we say the 100-syllable mantra for purification. So merit is essentially like good karma, okay? And anything virtuous that we do and practicing and studying the Dharma is considered virtuous, creates merit. So if we don't dedicate it, it just, because of the law of karma or the law of cause and effect, it would just come back to us individually as some kind of happiness or pleasure, which is great. But if we do dedicate it, then we're kind of redirecting that energy to include all beings, so it can also benefit them. Okay, so that's the idea behind dedicating. And also, dedicating the merit means that whatever merit we kind of seals it, the teachings say, so that it can't be destroyed. So, like if we, like they say, like a flash of anger really destroys like an eon of merit, that if it hasn't been dedicated. So people like me, I'm like, God, I'd be dedicating every second of the day, otherwise I'm really in trouble. But anyway, that's what that's about. So omniscience there, so by this merit may all attain omniscience, is a synonym for full enlightenment, may defeat the enemy wrongdoing. So in this case, we're referring to the law of cause and effect, right? So it's our own, the idea there is our own wrongdoing kind of creates a lot of suffering for us. From the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death. So these are considered the four main streams of suffering in the human realm anyway. So birth, old age, sickness, and death, I think we can all understand that. Birth is considered suffering because it's suffering for the baby and the mother. I don't know what the, anyway, I'm trying to get hip to the lingo of the sort of gender neutral stuff. But anyway, I don't know what another word for that is. So, so anyway, it's painful and dangerous for both the baby and the mother. Okay, and it means kind of like it's suffering in the sense that it means you're still in samsara. You know, you're still in this cyclic existence. So that's why it's considered suffering. From the ocean of cyclic existence, may I free all beings. So cyclic existence is this round of birth and death and birth and death and birth and death that we've all been on since the beginning of this time. It's called an ocean because it's vast and deep. You know, countless sentient beings are on this wheel. May I free all beings is again the bodhicitta motivation, but at the end, okay? So let's read this together if you want, once in English, once in Tibetan. By this merit, may all attain omniscience, may defeat the enemy wrongdoing. From the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death, from the ocean of cyclic existence, may I free all beings. Sunandi tanche sefani, chone nyepe dranam pancheshi, kegana chi balon trupai, sipe sole doa doa sho. May bodhicitta, precious and sublime, arise where it has not yet come to be, and where it has arisen, may it never fail, but grow and flourish ever more and more. Wait for the chant leader. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then, may I too remain and dispel the miseries of the world. Ever absorbed in the display of divine forms and primordial awareness, appearance, sound, and perception in the state of divinities, mantras, and dharmakaya, may I, inseparable from the practice of the profound and secret great yoga, attain within the essence of mind the state of one thing. Om Vajra Sattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajra Sattva Tenopa Tishadrito Me Bhava Sutokayo Me Bhava Subhokayo Me Bhava Anurato Me Bhava Sawa Siddhi Me Prayatsa Sawa Karma Sutsa Me Chitam Shriyam Kuruhum Ha 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 ho Bhagavan Savatata Gata Vajramame Mutsa Vajrivama Samaya Sattva. Okay, so Thank you so much for coming this morning. It's really great meeting all you guys and seeing old friends as well. Hope to see you next week too. Keep an eye on your mailbox for the newsletter. I've told you everything else that I have to say. You know my whole life now. So,
You didn't tell us what happened to the boyfriend.
oh, well.
I'm just kidding. You don't have to.
Yeah, I would rather not. But we were together for 2 years. He was a very nice guy.
Oh.
Very cute, very smart. Okay, so thank you. And if you could help us, if you have a little time to help us dismantle all of this, that would be great. If you have to go, that's fine too. Thank you. Thank you, YouTubers.
Thank you.
See you later. Bye.